this shit. Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Philosopher's Stone. Now, to my, audience, if you've been paying attention, this is a redo of an earlier episode I did. I went over it a day or two ago. I didn't fucking like it. So I think I rushed it, and I think it's a really fucking important story. The whole Anunnaki thing is a real big part of my research. The Epic of Gilgamesh is the earliest known literature, so I feel like it's really important. So basically, I just wanted to redo this one with the fucking oomph that I wanted to have it hit with the first time. It's not like I was unhappy with the views or anything like that. I really don't give a shit about that. I just want it to be good for my own catalog. So let's get the fuck into it. The Epic of Gilgamesh. So who was Gilgamesh? The heroic demigod. He was the fifth king of Sumerian city-state Uruk after the flood, son of the warrior king Lugalbanda and the wise goddess Ninsun. Known as a great judge, and prayers were addressed to him, so he was looked up to very well. He was also most likely a priest in Kulab, which is a small part of Uruk. Famous for being a great builder, he built the city walls of Uruk as well as the Eanna temple complex, which is the house of Anu. Anu being the king of the Anunnaki, if you will. Gilgamesh was believed to be 2/3 divine and 1/3 human, which is why you see him in statues and seals as way bigger than the humans of the time. Gilgamesh was a young buck, so he was known to be kind of a wild card, which tended to upset his people, which resulted in them going over his head and reaching out to Anu. And when I say upset his people, I mean he was like kind of a dick, super tyrannical, would force people to do a bunch of shit they didn't or shouldn't have to do. Also, should be noted that he is the precursor to Heracles and many other folk heroes. So this is where the Epic of Gilgamesh story begins. Anu tells Aruru to make a pier for Gilgamesh so that they could fight and keep each other occupied and basically give Gilgamesh a homie that's on his level and can keep up with his wild-ass behavior. I feel like it was also some type of humbling tactic. We're going to put this wild man next to you and see how you do. That brings us to Enkidu, the wild beast man. So his story is: instructed by Anu for Aruru to create an equal for Gilgamesh, Enkidu was made up of clay and water, so obvious magic and alchemy in use here by Aruru, which is very early use of alchemy. In the epic, he was a feral kid raised by the wilderness. He's completely dumb to civilization and the Sumerian society they got going on there. It is said that Enkidu fed, drank, and hunted with the wild animals. Then some snitch hunter goes to Gilgamesh and says, yo, there's this bearded wild man with a bunch of hair all over him who's fucking up our hunts. You know, telling the wildlife that we're coming, basically being a protector of the wildlife. So I also want to add that this is probably the early mythos of none other than my boy, Bigfoot. The description is just all there, like the covered in hair, lives in the wild, kind of fights back against the humans that are in his territory. Now this is where Gilgamesh decides to send a harlot love priestess woman to go show Enkidu what a human woman is all about. So she seduces him at his watering place, and for 6 days and 7 nights, Enkidu and the whore make sweet love. After his laycation is over, the animals he came up with no longer want him around, like he's been tainted by the pussy. They're like, pussy changed you, bro. You moving different now. We don't fuck with you no more. You're like one of them civilized humans that lays with women. Enkidu was super bummed, but after a woman's touch, he now had wisdom and a broader understanding. She taught him about the civilization he was missing out on, and she makes him to be a hero to the country people, scaring off lions and protecting cattle and shit. Following this, Gilgamesh dreams of Enkidu and is anxious to meet him. I'm assuming the following day after he dreamt of him, Enkidu enters the city and heads to the whorehouse. But on the way, he meets Gilgamesh, and that's where their brawl begins. Gilgamesh is like, "You ain't going no brothel, dog. We finna fight right now." It is said that the two clashed like bulls, and the fight shook the walls of Uruk, and it went on for hours. Finally, Enkidu dominates Gilgamesh, which results in the two becoming best buds, roaming the countryside and being freaks. Gilgamesh no longer upsets his people, so it's like I said before, Enkidu was a humbling entity. He was there to knock Gilgamesh down a peg or two, if you will. Here's where it gets exciting again. Gilgamesh wants to earn some more battle stripes, so he's like, "Yo, we should go fuck up the guardian of the forest, Humbaba." And now I will describe who Humbaba is. Look at that beautiful guy. A giant monster with dragon teeth and a roar like rushing waters. That's appointed by Enlil to be the guardian of the cedar forest in the land of the living, which is actually an extremely large tree that serves as the home of the gods, and his other job is to terrify mankind. One translation of the epic says he had the paws of a lion and a body covered in thorny scales. His feet had the claws of a vulture, and on his head were the horns of a wild bull. His tail and phallus each ended in a snake's head. Enkidu actually said this about the monster dude. This is a quote from Enkidu. "I found it, my friend, in the mountains. As I was roaming with the wild beasts, for many leagues extends the forest. I went down into its midst. Hawawa is there. His roar is like a flood. His mouth is fire. His breath is death." Hawawa is another name for Humbaba. So after Enkidu encountered him, he was like, "Yo, I saw that dude you were talking about, and he's fucking terrifying." But they're not really scared. They're about to run up on him. Humbaba has 7 cloaks with which to arm himself. There's a gate and a path in the Cedar Mountain that Humbaba is said to walk on like a beat for a city cop. The fact that his very sole purpose by Enlil was to prevent humans from entering the Cedar Forest just furthered the drive of Gilgamesh to fuck with them and in fact enter the Cedar Forest. So our boys Enkidu and Gilgamesh set out on their adventure to fucking pack out Humbaba and send him to the underworld resting place. They enter the forest and start chopping down trees and causing a huge ruckus. So they're like, "Yo, we're the young gods of debauchery. Where you at?" When they're confronted by Humbaba the monster, Gilgamesh panics and prays to Shamash, who then blows 8 winds into Humbaba's eyes. Humbaba begs for his life and mercy, in which Gilgamesh almost lets him go, but Enkidu cuts his fucking head off. I also read a version where they trick Humbaba into giving away his 7 radiances by offering his sisters as wife and concubine. And when Humbaba isn't looking, Gilgamesh punches him and captures him with a nose ring and lock or something, and they still decapitate him, put his head in a leather sack, and send it to Enlil. Which is funny because Gilgamesh is so big-headed, and then as soon as he gets confronted by Humbaba, he's praying to Shamash for help. So here we have to introduce Ishtar. Ishtar is also known as Inanna, and I should say that actually they could be 2 completely different goddesses, we just don't know. She's the goddess of love, fertility, and war, daughter of Nana and Ningal. Ishtar is often associated with the planet Venus. The more I read up on her, the more she seems like this unbeatable warrior woman with weapons unmatched in battle. Weapons no one knows how to fight against. In later myths, she becomes the queen of the universe and takes on all the god powers, including Enki's and Enlil's. Honestly, I think she's the inspiration and influence for the character we all know as Wonder Woman, because a lot of that comic book shit takes away from these Sumerian myths. So back to the epic. Ishtar makes a strong advance to Gilgamesh after she sees him after the Cedar Beast slaying, after he kills Humbaba with Enkidu, and she's hot for old Gilg. She says, "Come, Gilgamesh, be thou my lover. Grant me the fruit of thy love. You be my man, I shall be your woman." Some real bold activity from Ishtar. Gilgamesh is like, "Bitch, I'm hot right now. You can't keep up. Plus, you've killed or condemned every precious lover you've ever had before." He names them off, and she gets fucking pissed. So she runs to Anu and begs him to send the Bull of Heaven to punish Gilgamesh. And to my surprise, Anu does it. Anu sends the Bull of Heaven. So Enkidu and Gilgamesh are attacked by the sky monster, the Bull of Heaven, which to me is a huge metaphor for a nuclear flying machine that could destroy large amounts of land at a time. So I'm going to read some shit from the epic that backs that theory up. With the snort of the Bull of Heaven, pits were opened and 100 men of Uruk fell into them. With his second snort, pits were opened and 200 young men of Uruk fell into them. With his third snort, pits were opened and Enkidu fell in one of them. Enkidu leapt out of it and seized the bull by the horns. The Bull of Heaven retreated before him and brushed him with the hairy tip of its tail as it spewed foam from its mouth. So yeah, it sounds like this giant mechanical robot bull that can shoot laser death rays and create huge holes in the ground. Sounds like a nuclear weapon to me. Some scholars say the Bull of Heaven was actually Gugalana, Ereshkigal, the queen of the underworld. Anyway, Enkidu ends up seizing the bull by his tail and stabbing him through the nape of his neck. They rip out his heart upon killing the bull and laid it out for Shamash, which is the sun. Then Ishtar appears and says, "Woe be unto you, Gilgamesh, who has insulted me by slaying the Bull of Heaven." Like, what the fuck did you want him to do? You send this nuclear weapon after him, he defeats it, and now you're fucking crying? Get the fuck out of here, Anana. Then Enkidu's badass rips the thigh from the bull and chunks it at Ishtar and yells at her, "If I could reach you, I would do the same to you as to him. I would hang his entrails by your side," which is fucking tight. Enkidu is probably my favorite in this whole story. Then Anana orders the crimped courtesans, prostitutes, and harlots to mourn for the bull. In return, Gilgamesh called the armorers and the craftsmen to celebrate the bull's death. These lines also have me believing the bull was mechanical or some kind of metal machine with giant piercing horns. The artisans admired the thickness of the bull's horns. Each horn is 30 minas of lapis lazuli. 2 fingers thick is the coating of each. 6 gur measures of oil would measure their capacity, would be what they would contain. This being 1,500 quarts. Not sure what some of those words meant. So yeah, the evidence of my theory of that being, of the Bull of Heaven being some type of high-tech weapon in ancient times, I feel like the evidence is there, just in the text. Let's get back to the story. Enkidu and Gilgamesh finally rest from their celebration and killing adventure. Enkidu has a dream where Anu, Enki, and Shamash say either him or Gilgamesh must die for killing the bull. The gods argued and Enlil actually said Enkidu must die, let Gilgamesh live. Then Enkidu is put into a coma-like state where he is obviously dying slowly. Gilgamesh kind of freaks out and gets anxiety about death. He's like, oh shit, death is real, it can come to me. And the fact that he's losing his best friend is scary. So some kind of agreement was made where Enkidu's death sentence was commuted to working in the mines. I don't know. The last part of the Epic of Gilgamesh is him traveling super far, convincing the scorpion people to let him pass through, and fighting and killing some lions to find Utnapishtim. Now, Utnapishtim is the guy we know as Noah in the Bible shit. Utnapishtim tells him to become immortal, he must defy sleep. He doesn't defy sleep and sleeps for 7 days straight. Now the story has turned into Gilgamesh trying to find the key to immortality. Utnapishtim tells him the other way to restore his youth is with a plant. Gilgamesh leaves it on the fucking beach, like an asshole, and a snake steals it. And the very ending is kind of up in the air. I'm sure there's a maze of metaphors of what the ending of the epic could be. So that's really the Epic of Gilgamesh wrapped up in my own theories, I guess. So take of it what you will. I mean, it's very important if you're going to learn about the Anunnaki and if you're going to learn about the Sumerian stuff, because this is the earliest poem. This is what started it all, honestly. So here's some cool shit that's come out in the last 20 years. In 2003, the discovery of the tomb of Gilgamesh and Enkidu were allegedly found. It's said in text that Gilgamesh was buried in a tomb under the Euphrates, and more backup for this claim is that they found structures described in text by Gilgamesh himself, even Babylonian houses. Let's look at the pictures of these supposed bodies found in the sarcophagus. Now, they kind of look like mannequin dolls, but also, I don't know the science behind their embalming processes like the Egyptians, and maybe this is the two bodies of Enkidu and Gilgamesh. I'm guessing Enkidu is the one on top. He looks a little more rugged around the edges, maybe more of a wild man. But like I said before, Enkidu was most likely Bigfoot, or some type of Sasquatch, or some type of hairy giant. I don't really fucking know. So there it is, the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of my favorite stories of all time. So really, it's up to you to decide how to interpret all that, because I know it's a lot of shit. The first civilization's having some type of nuclear weapon shaped like a bull that shoots lasers and blows up the fucking ground. It's just kind of crazy. Thank you for watching. This is Philosopher's Stones. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.